Hey guys, the episode you're watching is actually a stock footage episode, therefore some of the shameless plugs aren't actually correct on it. Therefore, go to facebook.com/musicninjamat, that is our main hub for everything. Go over to Twitter and go to @musicninjamat, use the hashtag #comiccomments and ask us a question and we'll give you a shout out. And go into the description below. There are details of all our competitions there and the playlist for comic comments so you can see any episode that you like. Okay guys, welcome to the Geek Gala, better known to the Muggle folk as Comic Comments. I'm Matt and I'm joined by
Pete.
So we're going to be doing your beloved character and a story that is good, but I do have some gripes with it, and that story is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. As you can see, a very, very short story. But yeah, funnily enough, the book it was $10.99, which to me is kind of, I always base it on, it should be how long the book is, because there are books a lot longer than this for the same price.
But it's probably just based on popularity.
Yeah, like All-Star Superman. I really want to get that book, but it's £22.50, which is a lot. This is why Pete had very expensive taste as well, in that every book he sees he's like, yeah, I really want that story, and he's like, it's like 26 quid, and like it won't even be like one of the massive books. I mean, even Batman Nightfall, like one of those is like that. It's like a phone book sized issues and they're still £22. So Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. To sum this up, because you can sum this up really easily, Deadpool is aware that it doesn't matter what he does, all his actions are being controlled by the writers, so he's going to get their attention by killing everybody and just taking down the Marvel Universe. The story is narrated by the Watcher, and it makes sense because it's kind of, obviously this isn't in continuity, because otherwise it'd be a very empty Marvel Universe. But the Watcher's kind of saying that, well, this event took place across loads of different universes, and this is just one possible scenario that could have happened. So it's not in continuity, it hasn't happened, but it could have. So it makes just for a fun little story. You could put it in your own continuity, you could just read this and then never read anything again, I guess. So that would be fun. We kick off with Reed Richards looking so weird. Like, what does Deadpool do to him? Or is this...
It's never explained. He just ruins his stretchiness, I guess.
He looks very... meh. He's like melting away. But it's basically Deadpool has struck the Fantastic Four, and I think the reason they put these first is because the Watcher even says they launched an age of superheroes. Like, the Fantastic Four are a big deal, and Deadpool has killed them all. Because this is the thing, is that people talk about Deadpool and Wolverine having the same healing factor. I disagree, because with Wolverine, you see time that it takes for him to heal or regenerate, regrow a limb, what have you. Whereas Deadpool, it's just like instantaneous. Because Sue Storm creates a force field in his head, blows his head up, and she's kind of like done, and within seconds he says you should never turn your back on somebody, and kills her too. It's probably one of my more favourite moments of this book, just because Deadpool books are not afraid to be
gruesome.
Yeah, but it's not even gruesome, like, compared to other stories, this is more, it's still violent, but it's like cartoon violence.
Yeah, like when his head exploded, I'm pretty sure it said the word pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can, imagining that noise makes it a bit more cartoony. We then have, a flashback of kind of explaining how this came about. The X-Men put Deadpool into an asylum, and who is it? The Psycho Man
Yeah,
is controlling like this robot doctor,
because Psycho Man's like really small.
and it's kind of the idea that Deadpool's going to be altered and he's going to be fixed, and they're going to straighten him out. And this is probably one of the more laugh out loud parts of the book, because of some of the stuff that he says. Because obviously with Deadpool, it starts in classic Deadpool fashion of you have Deadpool's voice and then the two other voices that go on inside his head. We've got a lot of arguments going on, the random parts, including one of the voices saying that he's selfish in bed while he's doing his therapy session. I like the fact that it feels like, oh, it's just a Deadpool story. And then you hit that point where it just turns itself on its head and you're kind of like, oh, okay. Deadpool's able to fight his way out and defeat Psycho Man. During the session, the two voices that he usually has disappear, and there's just one voice in his head that's in a red box, so you know it's serious, because red. And the box is kind of, it's like his subconscious awakening. This voice basically says he always knew the truth, that he was like a comic book character, and he's realised that now, and now he's got to do something about it. But the voice is very dark as well at points.
It's his murderous personality. It's
Yeah.
all of that, and everything else is gone. It's just that. And
Yeah.
he said it's been rotting him from the inside for years, and it's always been there, but he hasn't like let it out.
Because it's the fact that it's when he's saying like, who do I kill next then? And the voice is like, it doesn't matter, just kill them. Like, yeah, no show, no theatrics, just get the job done. Which obviously isn't Deadpool, because everything's a show.
Yeah.
He's even able to kill the Watcher.
He stole like a portal thing from Fantastic Four, and then like stun gunned the Watcher.
And the voice says, ask him, and he says, I want to know one thing, who were you talking to? And then Deadpool looks like directly out of the panel. But it's that first idea that Deadpool knows what's really going on. He seems to cut a lot of people's heads off in this. That's like the answer to killing everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
It worked.
It works,
doesn't-
but it feels...
He doesn't cut Spider-Man's head off. Can't believe he killed Howard the Duck.
Yeah, because it's in the news report. Like, Doom's in some telegraph wires. You see Ghost Rider's flaming skull detached from his body. And then a cooked Howard the Duck, which was just a lovely touch to have in there. He then fights Spider-Man, and it's nice to see a fight, but it's, 3 pages?
It's like a bigger deal than the Fantastic Four one, though.
But they've always,
Because they've always had, like...
bromance.
Yeah.
Well, a love-hate relationship, really. But, Spider-Man's saying, like, loads of people have tried to kill me, they've all failed, and he's saying, you're lucky I don't kill you here. And then Deadpool says, well, I'm not lucky, the writers would never let you kill anyone because you're Spider-Man. But throughout this book, everyone's like, we don't understand what you're talking about. And then he full-on blows out Spider-Man's brains, and he kind of says the thing that made him different to all of Spider-Man's villains was none of them had a gun. Which it's a cool thing when you
think about it.
Yeah, Deadpool's that kind of guy. I don't know why I loved this moment, but he's walking around and his mask is a bit out of place, and then you just see him snap his jaw back from the fight with Spider-Man.
It's just cool, and it shows off his healing factor.
There's no jokes or anything. He's literally just walking, snaps it back into place and walks off. Like, there's no one-liner or anything that he'd normally do. We finally get to see the Avengers, and this is where I was like, oh, awesome. Like, Iron Man, Cap, Luke Cage, this is where shit's gonna get so cool. And then it just wasn't. He basically miniaturizes loads of bombs with pin particles, and then they expand and they blow up, but then that's it, there's most of the Avengers dead. And it's like I said, I would have loved to have seen more one-on-one fights. Like, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah,
part?
I thought it was just a lazy way to kill them all, but I suppose if they had to like condense everything down into like a short story,
Yeah,
then
4 issues.
it was a pretty okay way to go about it.
Because I don't know if when they're writing, if they're told how many issues they're allowed, or if they just write until the story's done.
Because this makes me feel like they were told how long they had.
Obviously, some people survive though, because like you can't kill Thor that way, but the way he kills Thor is great. He basically, Thor throws his hammer, and then as the hammer's coming towards Deadpool, he is able to kick it away. He uses pin particles again, but this time to grow the hammer, so it comes back and just crushes Thor. And that's just, I love this little detail. He just grabs Thor's nose and just goes boop.
So he is still Deadpool.
Yeah, he's still Deadpool, because I think a lot of people would have been upset if they'd read it and they'd been like, this just isn't Deadpool. Hulk turns up and just rips him into pieces, and Hulk's just angry. Because, I mean, Deadpool's killing spree, of course, it's not just heroes. It's heroes, villains, just like nobody is safe from it. But I don't agree with this way that he kills Hulk. Because
If Hulk's your favourite.
Well, no, because if this was a real thing, Banner would have done it.
Yeah.
But it's basically Hulk goes off, he falls asleep, turns back into Banner, and then he gets his head cut off. Because that's the way you deal with everybody that you usually can't kill in the Marvel Universe. Like, I don't know if it would work or not, because the other thing is, Banner wakes up just before he does it.
So he would turn into Hulk instantly.
Yeah, but I guess if you're going to kill the Marvel Universe, you need a way of killing Hulk.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. The Taskmaster is then hired by the hero's loved ones, hire him, because Taskmaster's powers is to... It's kind of...
He's a muscle mimic.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. In that he'll just watch something and knows how to do it. He's like that chick from Heroes.
That chick was awesome.
Yeah, because she did the 619. We see more panels of just dead bodies. This is probably one of the more darker moments, is that he's sort of not interrogating, but kind of mentally torturing Professor X. And he asks Professor X to call upon the X-Men. As the X-Men go to meet with Professor X, I guess. It's like, it's a weird kind of trap that Deadpool set up. It's like an orb that goes over Cyclops' head, and as he tries to blast it off, it just explodes and kills the X-Men.
Most of the X-Men.
And it's just, you see the X-Men dying in various different ways. This is why I say it's one of the darker moments. It's because Professor X basically says, I'm going to shut down your brain. And he goes into Deadpool's brain, and obviously he sees the truth, and he's there, and he starts tearing up, and then he just goes brain dead and dies. And I was like, that's heavy.
Like, no one can survive Deadpool's mind.
But I think it's probably in general you couldn't survive Deadpool's mind, but the fact that as well he found out the truth, and he was kind of like, oh, so everything is pointless.
And then he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bad way to go. Magneto dies in jellified acid, which is why I love the contrast of this really kind of heart-wrenching death, and then you're like, oh, and Deadpool managed to make giant jelly out of acid.
Kitty Pryde, she gets trapped in a 4D cube. Every time she runs through a wall, she'll reach another, and she just can't actually escape the cube. So he just leaves her in there, which is as good as killing her.
X-23 and Daken, who obviously have healing factors, but then Deadpool set up...
He hired Arcade to make this killing machine that every time they regenerate, it'll just set them on fire again.
But I believe, isn't it, Deadpool says himself that he has a healing factor, and he goes, oh, if I was going to kill myself, that's how I'd do it. Yeah, it's an interesting way of dealing with somebody with a healing factor. Apart from for Wolverine, it's very. This is so. Is that supposed to be Beast's
Yeah, that
fur?
is Beast's fur.
That's cool. I didn't notice that the first time I read this.
A carbonadium blade is for disrupting a healing factor.
Ah.
So once he uses it to kill Wolverine, he can't heal it again.
Yeah.
He can't like regrow his head or something.
Yeah, because he cuts his head off, like every other person.
Taskmaster goes to Doctor Strange's room, headquarters, library.
Was it the Sanctum
Place.
Sanctorum?
That's the one. And he finds that everybody's already dead. But also Deadpool has gone through the library to find a certain spellbook that will let him travel through all realities and kill anybody he likes.
Yeah, and you can tell because he signed it off with his
Symbol.
his Deadpool face. Yeah, we see a lot of villains and heroes and whatnot who have actually made a suicide pact because they know that Deadpool is coming for them. So like I said, this book is such a mix of classic Deadpool humour and then just full on like dark shit. Punisher then believes he's assassinated Deadpool when in actual fact he's just shot the puppet master, and then Deadpool is able to again shoot somebody in the head and blow their brains out. Target the head is what we've learned from this, really.
Oh, he uses Puppet Master's puppet to make Punisher shoot himself in the head.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Again, a little detail I did not pick up on. That's why I keep you around, Pete. We then have the Taskmaster fight, which I suppose it's an okay fight. Nothing too spectacular. Again, I feel they could have done more with it, but it's still enjoyable. And then Man-Thing turns up and just crushes Taskmaster's head. And then Man-Thing is the key to opening a portal so that Deadpool can come to our world. And he swims about in this, I don't even know, it's just a variety of different portals, and you see a lot of snippets of Deadpool's life and different...
It's not even Deadpool's life, because if you have a look, you can see him like as Professor X with the X-Men.
Oh, as Dr. Octopus.
Yeah. So he's just taking over other people's lives.
Yeah. And then he lands and you can see that he's actually walking on and trampling loads of Marvel comics. And then he sees the writers of the comic as they're writing this last scene. And you see Deadpool has found them, and it just ends with him turning round and saying, "I'll find you soon enough." And then there's like the scripts in the back for that final scene. So Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, a fun story. You'll probably be a bit biased.
Yeah, I will, because Deadpool's the best. I liked it, but it got a bit too serious for a Deadpool story.
You think? There were some classic moments in it.
It was more Deadpool towards the beginning.
Yeah. I think, though, that's kind of part of this story, because the tagline for this story is "The joke is over," and it's the idea that the Deadpool we know and love is changing. I loved the story. Like, this is my first proper Deadpool story that I own. Deadpool is the one who's kind of like, I want to put on this big show. And this voice inside his head is saying, but that's what the readers want.
But he ends up saying that he's proved that the writers don't control him.
Yeah.
And then it's just who he is.
My only gripe is I feel they could have done more with it, but it doesn't really take away from it. It's still worth picking up. I personally would recommend it because it was the first Deadpool story that I was like, I have to get this. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, great, I'm picking it up while it's here. I'm guessing you'd recommend it because it's Deadpool.
Yeah, I would. It's not my favourite Deadpool story, but it's definitely a good one.
What's your favourite Deadpool story that you've read, if you had to recommend a Deadpool story for somebody?
I'm thinking Dead Presidents.
Yeah?
Yeah, maybe.
It's one of the more popular ones.
Yeah, or honestly, Death of Deadpool. Like,
Oh yeah.
'cause you have all the bonus stories at the end, which are just little funny things involving Deadpool, and it's awesome.
You said you were disappointed with Deadpool versus Hawkeye, though.
I was.
Yeah.
That's because it was more Hawkeye than Deadpool.
Yeah, but you like Hawkeye, unless he's Ultimate Hawkeye.
I really.
Did you make it through that book?
I've made it past 5 pages, I think. I really don't like Ultimate Hawkeye.
Good grief. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you enjoyed, and leave a comment, because we'll always respond to comments, and it's nice to see what people's opinions on the books are, if there's anything that we've missed, and all that kind of good stuff. So that's it for this one. Thank you for tuning in. I have been Matt.
I've been Pete.
And we will see you in the next one.